Anyway. Well, good morning, everybody. Do I have any special requests for class this morning? Anything in particular? I think, okay, so like I'd like to do in our morning classes, I like to start out with more movement and fluidity to kind of loosen everything up for our day. So we'll do that. But I am going to have us start lying down on the floor and adding additional props for an additional little back bend and heart opener for those of us that want it. So I'm going to mute us, but again, feel free at any time to unmute yourself or use the chat box if you ever have any questions. So moving on over to our mat. Depending on how much you want, you will choose your level of lift. So I've been using this bigger size pillow that we'll put like maybe about midway, a little bit more towards where the head will be, but leaving enough space for our shoulders and head to fall over our prop. If a pillow is going to be a little too much, we can instead use our folded towel or a folded blanket and bringing it into maybe a longer rectangular shape to lay in that position. We want a little bit more, I can just double it up. So that will be our lift. If we want additional props, like maybe for underneath our knees or our legs, pillows, bolsters, that type of thing. We do want our low back to be grounded. And like I said, we'll want to try to let our shoulders fall off the other side. We will cactus our arms bending at the elbows and then try to let the backs of the hands fall to the floor as well. So I'll give us all a moment here to figure out what's going to work best for us. You can also take support underneath the head as needed. And that will just give us, right from the get-go, a little bit of this extension for our spine. So those upper arm bones should be able to find the floor as well. Also, we want a little bit more in the hips. You can always bring the soles of the feet to touch and the knees falling open, a Baddha Konasana. I would still use some type of support, especially in the beginning, and if we haven't done a lot of movement yet in our morning. Once we're in position, give the head a little rock side to side a couple times, just starting to loosen and relax the muscles around the neck and the top of the shoulders. We'll find the very back center of our skull. Those legs can stretch out as well, feet nice and wide if that feels good. Let the feet flop open. And then closing our eyes, just turning our attention back inward so that we can recenter, focusing on our body, our breath, and mentally preparing ourselves for our moving meditation today. I like to think of our yoga practice the whole time as a moving meditation as we stay connected to the body and the breath. So let's let the whole body relax. If you need to make any adjustments, make those adjustments. And then we'll press that pause button and cultivate some stillness here. Mentally move through the whole body from the top of the head all the way out into those fingertips and toes. Consciously letting go of any tension or tightness we might find. Poof the cheeks with air, relax the mouth, the tongue, and the jaw. We can also identify any areas that we might be healing, taking care of today, remembering to give them a little extra TLC throughout our practice. As the body relaxes and sinks in towards the ground, let's now transfer some of our awareness just to the rhythm of the breath. Simply begin by observing and watching the body breathe this morning. We're trying to breathe as smoothly and evenly as possible in and out through the nose. Maybe we notice a subtle rise and fall of the abdomen with the breath, Some expansion and contraction around the rib cage this morning. And then we'll move into our Samavritti Pranayama, which is our even or equal breathing. So we're going to try to even and equalize our breath as much as possible. Whenever we get to our next inhale, mentally count the number that we're breathing in and filling ourselves up this morning. And when we get to our exhale, we try to breathe the same number back out, remembering the exhale is just as important. We get to clean out stale old air and energy. If we're lifted up a little bit higher, we'll definitely feel this breath a little bit more around the chest, and that's fine. But really try and take nice, smooth, deep breaths all the way from the belly up. And then we're all going to cycle through one more nice big round of breathing. And this time we're just going to simply try to breathe as much as we can. So on our next inhale, we will breathe into our capacity. So inhale, 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 expand, fill the body all the way up to the brim. And when we can no longer take any more air in, gently start to release the breath. And same thing on this exhale. We want to try to exhale completely and fully, exhaling every last drop out. So put some effort into it. Draw the navel in towards the spine. Squeeze and push the air out. And when we can no longer exhale any more air out of the body, gently let go, following and controlling the breath for a moment. Start to feel the whole body, the contact points with the body in the floor, and we'll start to wake our body up. So give those toes a little wiggle, the fingertips, a gentle rock of the head side to side. Now, depending where we are with our lift, some of us might be able to continue to stretch our arms out overhead. If your knees are open in Baddha Konasana, float your knees up, and then we'll all try to extend the legs out down the center of the mat. Point and flex those feet a couple times. Stretch side to side. Spread fingers and toes. Just create some space here. Let's all flex our feet. Pull those toes into the shin bones, including those pinky toes. Spread those fingertips nice and wide. Take one more big breath in. And on the exhale, soften and relax. So again, depending where we are, we'll step our feet in. We might not be able to hug our knees and if we're up on a lift, but we'll float our feet up off of the ground so that we can roll to one side. So we'll keep one arm extended so that we can rest our head on that arm. And then we'll take our hand to the ground in front of the heart, and we're going to come all the way up. So take your time, there's no hurry. Push into the floor. Start to bring the body up. And then we'll come into our first seated position. So we'll have to adjust our surroundings and our space, taking some cushion and lift now for our sit bones. So the firmer the better. Pillows are okay, but then we have a tendency to kind of lean and sink from one hip to the other. So a nicely folded firm blanket, a firmer pillow or cushion is ideal. We'll sit ourselves up. We'll find our sit bones. We could come into Sukhasana, our easy cross pose, heel to heel and Siddhasana or any other position that we like. Move the flesh out of the way, wiggle around until we're propped up nice and tall on both sit bones. And we feel both sit bones equally weighted. Draw in a little bit through that lower belly so that the spine stays long and extended. Our head is just floating on our ears. And then we'll float our fingertips out beside the body. Turn those palms up. Take another nice big breath in just to reach the arms wide and all the way overhead. On the exhale, turn those palms out and float the fingertips back down to the floor. We'll go right into our lateral extension. So next inhale, the right arm is going to come up. Keep that right sit bone rooted. Lean it over to the left as we exhale. Inhale, pull the body back up to center. Switch arms. Exhale, lean over to the right. Big stretch. Again, inhale up. Exhale, seated triangle pose, stretching those side bodies. Inhale. And exhale. One more time over to the right. Next inhale, reaches both arms back up to the ceiling. Bring the palms to touch and exhale to our center. So we'll want to try to switch up that cross, opposite foot in front. Find the sit bones again, sit up tall. Flowing twist. Inhale, both arms reach up to the ceiling. Keep the length. Exhale, rotate to the right. Fingertips may drop down towards the opposite knee. We're going to twist all the way through the neck to the crown of the head and use those eyeballs to peek behind the body. Inhale, pull everything up to center. Big exhale, twist to the left. Those shoulders and chin should stay parallel to the floor. Open your eyes as wide as possible, peek behind you. Inhale up. Big exhale, one more time to the right. Wring everything out, but don't force anything. Nice gentle movements here. Inhale to center. And exhale one more time to the left. Inhale, reach it up. Palms touch. Exhale to center. All right, we'll make our bigger transition now to tabletop, however you want to get there, whether we're crawling forward or stretching our legs out in front of us, and then moving ourselves around. Again, no hurry. You need extra cushion for the knees. You can slide a blanket underneath the knees. You can also take the middle of the yoga mat and fold it in towards you just a few inches, and it creates a extra little bit of cushion for the knees today if we want it. Spread the fingers wide. Keep your hands as broad as your shoulders. Even a little wider than the shoulders is okay. Remember, we're pressing into the ground so our elbows aren't locked out. Head is floating with our spine. Our knees are right underneath our hips. So we have a few inches between the knees and the feet. Toes may be tucked here if we like that stretch for the feet. Flowing with our breath, we'll do some of our flexion and extension now. So take a nice deep breath in, relax the belly. Lift up that tailbone and stretch and lengthen all the way through the crown of the head, gazing forward. On the exhale, draw the belly in, scoop that tailbone under, round the back up, chin to chest, look at the belly button. Inhale, we're swaying the back, gentle back bending. Exhale, we're rounding the back up to the ceiling, stretching the muscles. Remember, try to get some of that pelvic action in there, so pelvic tilts. Anterior tilt on the inhale, posterior tilt on the exhale. Try to get movement through the whole spine, between the shoulder blades. Remember, you can kind of hang out in these. You can do little lateral movements here, side to side, if it feels good. And then we'll come back to neutral and we'll visit our first child's pose today. So touching the big toes together, open the knees nice and wide as the mat, sinking the sit bones to the heels. Now keeping the fingertips extended today if we want a little bit more stretch for our shoulders. The head must be supported. So if the head doesn't naturally touch the ground, stack your fists under the forehead, a yoga prop. Or if that's a little bit much for our shoulders today to keep the arms extended, just soften, drop the elbows towards the ground. Knees, you can sit back on a cushion, your pillow, take your blanket behind the knees, or simply keep your hips higher up in the air. Nice big stretch here for the low back, around the hips. So breathe into the back body, enjoy the stretch, let the head be grounded. One more breath. Inhale, head and body comes back up. And we're going to come back into our tabletop. But this time we're gonna wanna walk ourselves towards the back of our mat so we have space in front of us, because we are gonna do our low flow this morning. We'll do some upper body strengthening, and then we'll come onto our bellies and do some of our back bending. So we'll bring our tabletop position towards the back of our mat. Let's tuck our toes under, knees are right underneath the hips. Walk those hands, again, one hand's distance forward about, so the arms are more stretched forward. On our inhale, pull the low belly in, keep your core strong, slide forward into kneeling plank. So this action of the tailbone scooping under, gaze slightly forward. On the exhale, we're gonna pull the belly in, take a bow. Pop your palms up, come onto your fingertips. If your wrists need a stretch, the head doesn't need to touch. Inhale. Kneeling plank, this should be nice and strong, no collapsing of the spine, good. Exhale, take our bow. So these flowing movements will help warm the hips as well and the shoulders. Now next time we inhale, we're gonna start to add those small chaturangas. This does not need a big movement. It's better to keep it small and in control. So it's a bend of the elbows, a straightening of the arms. If needed, take your bow. Exhaling. Inhale, kneeling plank. Exhale, bend the elbows back. Inside of the arm bone should graze the rib cage. Don't flare those elbows out like chicken wings. Inhale, straighten the arms. Exhale, take your bow. So it should be an inhale, kneeling plank. Exhale, micro bend the elbows. Keep the head in line with the spine. Inhale to straighten the arms. Exhale to bow. And you are more than welcome to stay forward and try to take as many of these half chaturangas as we can without collapsing. As soon as you've collapsed through the low back, it's a good time to take a bow. Now keep the weight through the first knuckles and the fingertips so your wrists aren't bearing all the weight. Keep those upper arm bones tucked in nice and tight. We should start to feel this in our triceps, the backs of the upper arms. We're gonna do one more. So next time you come forward, we're gonna come all the way down to our bellies. So we'll catch up, lowering down slowly onto the bellies. Chin is forward, point the feet, firmly plant the tops of the feet to the ground. Keep your feet wider than the hips if we take care of our low back, or zip the insides of the feet and legs to touch. Slide the hands directly underneath the shoulders. Again, your elbows are squeezing in towards the body. Pull your shoulder blades together and down the back. Start to tighten up your back muscles, even the glutes to help the back. Inhale, lift the heart. Bhujangasana, cobra pose. Now we're gonna breathe and hold today. So keep breathing, don't hold the breath. Legs should be strong, glutes should be active, the back of the neck should be long. In every inhale we take, we should feel like we could come up a little bit higher. You'll notice on the exhale, your body wanna come back down towards the ground. Keep breathing. Lift up the hands for a little bit more. Keep squeezing that back. Shalabhasana, those arms. Reach your fingertips towards your heels. Turn the palms down towards the ground. Squeeze to the upper back. Tone and strengthen the upper back. Your glutes are still working. We're still breathing. We can do this. Good job. Inhale, half locust. Lift the right leg up from the hip. Squeeze those muscles, the whole straight leg. Exhale it down. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, lower it down. Inhale, both legs lift so you can stay with your single leg lifts. Squeeze, strengthen, and lengthen all at the same time. Big breath in. Exhale, gently flop down to the floor. So the head can turn to one side. The arms flop down, palms up. Let your heels fall open and just pause and breathe. You might notice that our heart rate has increased. Those are all energizing poses. If the head is turned, gently turn it the opposite direction for a counter twist and one more breath. Inhale, chin forward, hands underneath the shoulders, strengthen through the legs, plant the tops of the feet, keep them wide if needed. Inhale, squeeze the back to lift the heart, cobra, slide those elbows straight forward into Sphinx pose. So we're bringing our elbows right underneath our shoulders, knife the pinky edge of the hands into the ground. So the upper body's doing the work. Now relax the back of the body again. Let your heels just flop out. Relax the buttocks. Give your hips a little bit of a wiggle here. So bigger back bend, but a little softer. We're not trying to tighten the back muscles at this point. Our arms and shoulders are doing the work. So you're pushing down. We want to stretch the crown of the head forward. So we should feel a stretch to the abdominal muscles. So this lengthens the spine forward and then up through the crown of the head. Really beneficial pose to help decompress the spine. And the gaze should come straight forward. Take a nice breath in. Exhale, let's look over our right shoulder this morning. See if we can find our feet back there. Just giving our neck a release. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, have a peek over that left shoulder. Open your eyes nice and wide. Look to that furthest point. Inhale to center. Exhale one more time each side. Look over the right shoulder. Maybe we see a little further, maybe we don't. Inhale back. Exhale, left shoulder. And inhale, gaze straight forward. Today, we're going to interweave all 10 fingers from here. Remember, your elbow should be right under your shoulders. One way to check quickly is to grab a hold of the inside of the elbows, and your webbing of your thumb and index fingers should be able to hold on to those creases. But then we're going to interweave all 10 fingers super strong, tuck our toes under. I want you to push into the floor through those shoulders, arms, and start to pull your low ribs and abdomen away from the ground. So we're moving into kneeling forearm plank. Super strong core, pull it in. Those of us that want a little bit more, we're going to lift the knees and come into a forearm plank. Keep your gaze straight down underneath the tip of your nose. Trying to keep the body parallel to the floor. This is a big, powerful pose, I know. Take one more big breath in. And exhale, lower it down. Knees, thighs, belly, look forward. And then exhale, bring the hands underneath the shoulders. We're gonna come all the way back down to the ground. The toes are still tucked under. Press into the hands, pull the belly in, push up, nice and strong. We're gonna come back to our tabletop, knees underneath the hips. Start off with really small cat-cows to help stretch out the back. So an inhale, little baby, cow stretch, back bending. Exhale, some scooping and rounding. You might notice it's a little harder to do our cat stretch as big as we normally do at first. We just did some back bending, so those muscles of the back have gotten a little stronger, but also shortened. But then we'll start to loosen up again. And then from here, we're going to take the top of our left foot, slide it out towards the long edge of our mat. We're going to get into some of the side body work. So now our left hand and arm is going to be doing the work. Extend the right leg straight back from the hip with the toes tucked under. Now we're going to turn to the instep of our right foot. We're going to start taking weight out of our right hand. So press through that left arm nice and strong and try to stack the hips. So you're pulling your right hip on top of the left, right shoulder on top of the left shoulder. Right hand can come to the hip or reach it up to the ceiling. So pull and squeeze through your left side. Be mindful of where the head is and space. We want this big side stretch. Turn your palm down as we reach the right arm over our ear. And we're making this big lateral stretch. Good. Now inhale that right arm up and squeeze your whole right side and see if we can't lift that right foot up. And the right foot should be actively flexed. Toes pointing straight forward. Modified side plank, modified half moon pose. Breathe it in. Exhale, we'll bring the instep down. We're gonna unwind, look down, hand, square the hips, bring the knees and the feet back into tabletop. Couple cat-cows. Feel free to rise up on your fingertips or take fists for wrists if your wrists need a break. And we're going to do that all on the other side. So fingers are spread out nice and wide. Take the top of the right foot, slide it off the long edge of the mat. That just will help with our balance. Extend the left foot straight back from the hip, tuck the toes under. Now press through that right hand and arm, pull up through your right side, taking weight on the left hand, roll to the instep of the left foot, stack the hips, shoulder to shoulder, neck is long, gazing straight forward or even upwards towards that top thumb, hand to hip or up to the ceiling. Bigger stretch. Reach that left arm over the ear, palm faces down to the ground. Big arching all the way through the left side of the body. More strengthening. Inhale that left arm up. Good. Now tighten up the muscles along the left side. So our abductors, obliques, flex that foot. Try to hover it parallel to the floor in our modified half moon or side plank. Good. Big breath in. Exhale. In, step down, look down. Take your time to unwind. Hand, knees, and feet. And again, couple cat-cows. Hands walk forward, toes tuck under, draw the belly in. We'll press into the ground and visit our first downward facing dog of this class. Parallel those feet. Big stretch for the whole back of the body. Draw those shoulders away from the ears. Neck is long and loose. Inhale, let's lift our heels up as high as we can, creasing into the toes. Exhale, right heel down, bend to the left knee, giving our right leg a nice big stretch. Inhale, heels up. Exhale, sink the left heel towards the ground, bend the right knee. Big stretch for the back of the left leg. We should have equal weight in the hands. We can keep walking our dog heel to heel. If one side is tighter, you can hang out there a little bit longer if it needs it. And then let's find some stillness in this pose for one full breath. Inhale, look forward, walk feet to hands, hands to feet. So some of us will be in Uttanasana, forward fold, staying upside down in a partial inversion. Those of us that modify will bend our knees and place elbows or hands on our thighs instead. You're always welcome to come up into Tadasana and wait for us there. Forward folding people, feel free to release your shoulders, your head and neck. Keep your feet and legs super strong. Hug those muscles to the bone. Pull up to the pelvic floor, Mula Bandha, our root lock, and Uddiyana Bandha, our lower abdominal lock. Squeeze those muscles. Let's do a little bit more toning and strengthening for our back today with our halfway lift. So on the inhale, you gotta squeeze your upper back muscles. Even if you're modified, you can have your hands on your thighs. We can still pull our shoulder blades together, down our back. Exhale, fold or soften. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to shins or higher. Lift the chest, squeeze your upper back, pull your shoulder blades together. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Good. Exhale, fold. Those of us that can take a little bit more will inhale to our halfway lift. You can Shalabhasana your arms beside the torso, palms facing in. I'm modifying today for my back, but if you want more, add it. Exhale, fold. Good. And then one more. Inhale, halfway lift, locust those arms. If you like, super strong upper back. Exhale, we're gonna sit back now into our invisible chair, coming to Utkatasana or fierce pose. So the knees are bent. We're in a squat position. Your knees should be facing towards your toes. Our arms are extended forward and up. But keep your shoulders shrugging away from the ears. Another powerful pose here, neck and shoulder people, always modify hands to heart if needed. So pull up through those lower bandhas. Let's see if we can float our right foot from the floor. Focus your drishti in one spot. Good. Exhale, sink it down. Let's see if we can squeeze and lift our left foot from the floor this morning. A little bit of balance work. Exhale, bring it down. See if we can sink a little further down. Drive your sit bones back, bellies in. Inhale, reach everything up. Straighten the legs. Extend the fingertips up to the ceiling. Look up to the fingertips. Turn your palms out. Exhale, we'll float our arms down into Tadasana, mountain pose. And this morning, let's turn our palms to face forward. So we still get a little bit of that heart opening we created at the very beginning of our practice. So roll those upper arm bones out. From here, we want to unlock those knees, so make sure you're not jamming your knees backwards. Pick up the toes, spread them as wide as you can. Firmly press down through the mound of the big toe and inner heel. At the same time, press through the mound of the pinky toe and outer heel. So the four corners in each foot, nice and grounded. Draw front body to back body. Lift up through the pelvic floor, lower abdominal muscles. Anchor the tailbone towards the ground. We're still breathing, smoothing evenly through the nose. There should be no tension in the face, neck, or shoulders. Take another inhale, reach those arms out as wide as possible, all the way overhead. Exhale, bring the palms to touch into our heart center. If your toes are still up, good. You can soften them to the ground. So we'll do our palm tree pose, but we'll take our little different variation today. So I want you to interweave all 10 fingers nice and strong. Then flip your palms forward and overhead. And on our inhale here, press your palms up to the ceiling and lift your heels up. On the exhale, when we lower our heels, you bend your elbows out and you let the knuckles come to the top of the head. On the inhale, press your palms up, lift your heels up. Exhale, lower the heels and the hands. Good. A little different. Try two more. Really reach, reach, reach on those inhales and try to slowly come down on the exhale. One more. Exhale. When we come down this time, just let go of your fingertips, float your arms back down beside the body. Maybe give yourself a nice big shoulder roll. So we might need to readjust here with our mats and our space. If you have yoga blocks, you can place one to the front and back of your mat. If you use a chair, you can use a chair. So we'll set ourselves up and we'll want to turn to face the long edge of our yoga mat. And then we will end up in a nice wide stance for our triangle pose, Utthita Trikonasana. I'm going to practice unsupported triangle today, so I won't be going as far into it. But it's a nice way to still tone and strengthen. So if you have your yoga blocks, you can have them near the backs and fronts of your mat if you're going to want to use them, or your chair. If you have a chair that you're using, place it to your right side because that's the first side that we'll start. When we extend those arms and feet out, our feet are almost as wide as our wrists, and the feet start parallel to each other. So the toes should be pointing straight forward. On the inhale, we pick up the right toes. The actions at the hip, we're spiraling that thigh bone open to point our toes to the front of our yoga mat. Make sure we're not jamming into those knees, unlock them. Both side bodies stay nice and long. We can pull our right hip in slightly, really lengthen through the right side. Inhale, reaching forward, belly should be engaged. Exhale, windmill those arms. So if you're an unsupported triangle like I am, the palms are facing forward. One hand is just pressing to the inner thigh. I can use that as a little bit of leverage to get a little bit more heart opening. Now let's have a look down. Our knees should be pointing to the center of the foot. Equal weight in both feet, four corners connected here. We can keep our drishti down if that helps with our balance. Turn our gaze straight forward. We should have that rod moving through the spine at the crown of the head, or try to look up to our top thumb. And we should be feeling a nice big stretch up the inner thigh and back of the right leg. One more breath here. Now the inhale pulls us out of the pose. So if you're further down into it, you gotta use your strong legs and core. Inhale, bring yourself all the way up. Exhale, turn those right toes forward. We should end up back in neutral position. Other side, inhale, left toes up, action at the thigh bone. Turn your thigh out, turn the toes out. Heart and hips are still open to the long edge of the yoga mat. Unlock those knees, both feet are nice and strong. Keep the side bodies long, pull that left hip in slightly. Inhale, lengthen out. Exhale, windmill those arms. And if you are taking it further down, that's fine. Just make sure that your spine is straight and long, the neck's in line with the spine. Let's rotate to the neck and look down. Knee to the center of the foot, the middle of the toes. If your hand is to the inside of that thigh, press the back of the hand in there. Try to open the heart a little bit more. drishti forward or even upwards to that top thumb. One more breath. Enjoy that stretch up the inner thigh, back of the left leg. Inhaling, use your legs, use your core, reach up out of the pose. Exhale, turn the left toes forward, drop those arms, let them go. Just kind of noodle them around a little bit. And then let's heel our feet in just about another step. They're still fairly wide, but not as wide. And at this point, we're gonna turn our toes out about 45 degrees. Inhale, both arms up into our star pose. On the exhale, wide kneed squat. So you're gonna slide down an invisible wall. Your knees must bend out towards your toes. If your knees are falling inward and you're rolling to the inside of the feet, really tone and strengthen more from outer knee to outer hip. Simultaneously, pull your shoulder blades down the back. Squeeze your elbows down. Kalyasana. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, pull and squeeze. We should feel this in the back again, especially the upper back. Super strong legs. Good. Inhale out. Exhale. One more. Exhale, pull it down. And we're going to hold, but don't hold that breath. Keep breathing. Pull the belly in. Sink the low back to the ground. Chin mudra in the hands. Index finger to thumb can help with our balance. Try to lift one heel up at a time. If you are taking care of your ankles, your knees, your feet, just modify if this doesn't feel good. And then we can try to float both heels up, staying down. Powerful pose. Keep the back strong, belly in. Now next inhale, we're gonna reach all the way up. You can stay up on your tippy toes. And then exhale, drop the heels, bend the knees, but softly, we're gonna flow now. Inhaling, the arms can cross overhead, they can cross in front of the body. So a little bit more loosening, good pose for our circulation, for stiff joints. One more. We'll meet on the inhale. Reaching up to the ceiling, you can gaze up. Palms touch, exhale to our center. Now heel toe again in, a little bit closer, but the feet are still wider than the hips. We'll do our single leg balancing. We'll lean into the right leg, push the right foot through the floor. You should already feel yourself get a little lighter on this side. Lift and lower those left toes, fix the drishti on one spot. Float around so you can get a little bit of balance. Good. There, we can be pretty soft if this is what we need. If we need a little bit more strengthening in our lives, we'll spread our fingers and toes and reach out. We're not gonna do full half moon today, but if you wanna play with the modification where you're just trying to lift the leg a little higher and come more into a lateral movement, you can. Be very careful with the low back. So just kind of play with it. Foot should be active. This leg is super strong if you're moving into that lateral movement. Good. Take one more big breath in. On the exhale, just try to land as softly as you can. The arms will float down into mountain pose and we'll pause here. Equal the weight in the feet. Take a big breath in, reach those arms up. Palms touch, exhale to center. Let's lean to the left, push down through the left. Push that foot through the floor. This should almost pop up on its own if you're really strong on the left side. Lift and lower the toes. Trying a little hover. A little bit more strengthening. Flex that foot, spread the toes and fingers. You can try this lateral movement if we want, see where it goes. It's a good way to kind of build up that muscle memory again. One more breath wherever we are. And then we'll take one more big breath in. Good, it's okay if we dance around in the pose. On our exhale, let's try to land softly right back into mountain pose. Pause, keep the focus. Inhale, arms up. Reach up, look up. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale to our center. So if we've moved ourselves around, we're gonna come back to the top of our yoga mats, clear our space as needed. Feet are hips width apart, ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. On the inhale, draw that big circle, fingertips out, palms up, reach it up, drishti to thumbs for that gentle back bend. Exhale, bend those knees, swan dive, so your hands and arms come around, back and down, taking your version of your forward fold, whatever that looks like for you today. If you're able to go into full Uttanasana, feel free. If you want to modify, you can still get a little release, just keep your weight on your thighs a little bit more. Those of you in full Uttanasana, you can release the head, the arms, or even ragdoll. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend your knees deeply. Find the mat with your hands. We're gonna take a big step back into plank position. So both feet step back. Shoulders over wrist. Pull that belly in. Head stays in line with the spine. So this morning, you're welcome just to hold plank the whole time, strengthening and toning. We are going to move into Vasisthasana side plank or revisit the modified version. So the modification, we bring our right knee down, pivot the foot out, roll onto our right hand, stack our hips, arm up. We can lift the left leg up and come back into that modification. The full version, you squeeze the feet and the legs together, roll to the outside of the right foot, stack the hips and the shoulders. Left arm reaches up, push the ground away from you, pull your right side up. Good, take a big breath in. Nice modifications, exhale, look down, come down. If you're in the kneeling version, you can move through tabletop. So other side, modify, bring the left knee down, kickstand the foot out, stack your hips, your shoulder, reach up, right leg can float up. Full version, squeeze the insides of the feet and legs to touch, roll to the outside of the left foot, stack the hips and the shoulders, reach up, pull your left side up, tone and squeeze all the muscles in the body. Big breath in. Exhale, look down, hand down, knees down, or back to our full plank for one breath. Inhale those hips up to the ceiling. Exhale, sink down through the backs of the legs, through the heels, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Or tabletop or child's pose. Take a breath. Inhale, heels up. Exhale, we'll all drop down to our knees now, flatten the feet, and sink back to another child's pose. We want the head to be grounded, so use your hands, your props. Hands can slide back to the feet to give our wrists a break. We can also grab a hold of one wrist across our low back, dropping the shoulders down to the ground. One more breath. Hands under shoulders, tuck the chin. Inhale, let's round it up. Stack the vertebra, one vertebra at a time. We'll sink over to either hip, doesn't matter which one, and bring our feet forward. So I want us to do our little hip lift and side stretch again, so we're gonna have to rearrange ourselves one more time. So those of us that want extra cushion for our knees, you'll either need to make sure that you are sat back and back facing the long edge of your yoga mat. If you need more cushion, you can have a blanket there, because if you do the fuller version of this pose, we do end up lifting up under our shins and knees. It looks like this. We don't have to do that fuller version, but if you want to try it, you can. And just to make sure we're all on the same page, once we're in position, just take both feet out in front of the body here for a moment. Bring weight into your hands beside the hips and just give your knees a little rock side to side. So to start, we're going to bring the left foot, we're going to internally rotate this thigh bone. So the left foot's going to come out beside us, and we drop that knee to the ground. And then the right foot slides in towards the top of that thigh. Now we also might need to sit up on our support or our cushion again. So once you're here and you're internally rotated in the left thigh and externally in the right, if this hip is way up off the ground and it's not possible to get your sit bones to sink down and sit up with proper alignment, we need to place something underneath our sit bones. And actually on this side, I can get both sit bones down because the way my hips are. When I drop my knees to the other side, I cannot. So I'm just gonna have my cushion there regardless. And some days I can, and some days I cannot anyway. So cushion for the knees. This foot can be further out or in. There should be no discomfort in the knees. If there is, then find a modification that works. Our right hand is going to come to the ground. And at first, if you're lifted up, it's just your fingertips, that's fine. We'll lean into it a little bit more. On the inhale, let's keep our hips down, the first one, and just reach the left arm over the ear. Taking a nice big side stretch again. Exhale, the hand comes down. So we flow with the breath. We want a little bit more. You're going to push down through that right hand. Inhale. Now I'm squeezing to lift my hips up and forward. And then that left arm comes up and over. Exhale it down. On the inhale, when you reach up, you can look up, get a little bit more extension. You can also look down towards the bottom hand, inhaling up, looking down and reaching slightly forward. That will stretch more of the shoulder. And let's do one more, whatever variation we like. Big side stretch. We'll meet on the exhale when we get there. Hips down, hand down. We'll carefully slide our right foot forward. You can lean back if you need to bring that left foot forward, bring weight into the hands, give your knees a little rock side to side. Other side, bring the right foot out. Toes are into our instep. And then slide the top of the left foot towards that thigh. So this one, I'm a little tighter. It's harder for me to get my sit bones down. So I'm still up on that cushion. You figure out where you are. Make sure you're sitting up nice and tall. Modification, left fingertips towards the floor. Inhale, keep your hips down. Just reach the right arm over the ear. Exhale, bring it down. Taking it a step further, press down through the left hand, squeeze to lift your hips up, reaching up, and exhaling to lower. Again, slight variations. They do change the stretch a little bit. On the inhale, when we lift up, you can look up, bringing the arms slightly behind, exhaling. We can also inhale, lift up, and look down, reaching that top arm slightly forward for more of a shoulder stretch. And let's do one more. We'll meet on the exhale, lowering the hips and the arm back down to the ground. Good. Leaning back, carefully slide the left foot out, right foot, weight in the hands, just give your knees a little rock side to side. All right, it's time to come down onto our backs one more time. So we'll need to readjust ourselves. And you got yoga blocks. Have one yoga block nearby. We'll do some of a little bit of bridge work today, or a firmly folded blanket or cushion. So we'll need to rearrange, have some space behind us, come to the middle of our mat. You're always welcome to come to one side and lock yourself down, which I'm gonna do today. Or you can try to roll down, pulling the belly in. Once we come onto our backs, we'll take a moment, loosen things back up, move ponytails out of the way. Taking our long body stretch, let's slide the legs together down the middle of the mat. Inhale the arms overhead, just kind of stretch things out. You'll feel a gentle arching in the low back. On the exhale, let's float our arms down, walk our feet in. Pulling that belly in, let's hug our knees in. And let's give our back a little massage and release before we start. We'll drop our feet back down to the floor now. They're hips width apart, heels are in line with the sit bones, parallel your feet to each other. Take your yoga blocks if you have them, placing the small side in between your inner thighs and giving it a nice squeeze. If we don't have a prop between our thighs, just keep that knee to toes alignment. Walk your shoulder blades under. Drishti's one spot on the ceiling. We're gonna flow in our Setu Bandhasana a few times, and then we're gonna pause and hold. So we'll do movement, then we'll do stillness and strengthening. So from here, squeeze your backside, the hamstrings, the glutes, the lower back. Inhale, we float the hips up towards the ceiling. Your knees should be pointing straight forward to your toes. On the exhale, we take just as much time to lower back down. So come back to Samavriti breath if we've lost it along the way. If we're inhaling for a count of 3, we should be exhaling, lowering for a count of 3. We're stretching and opening the front of the body, toning and strengthening the back of the body. A gentle inversion. If we lift a little higher, the heart comes higher than the head. All the weight into the meaty part of the shoulders, not the neck. It's okay if the chest moves towards the chin, but avoid tucking the chin to the chest. Those of us that want to add some shoulder arm movement on our inhales, we'll reach those arms up overhead. And on the exhale, we lower and float the arms back down. Let's do 2 more, flowing Setu Bandhasana. We're gonna meet on the exhale with the arms and the hips down. Make sure your shoulders are grounded where they need to be. Now we're gonna pause and hold bridge pose. We're gonna try to hold it with the strength of our body. So continue to squeeze the yoga block if you have one, adjust the shoulder blades, tighten up the buttocks, the hamstrings and back, and lift those hips up. Keep breathing. Now some of us might be able to reach down and take a hold of the heels or the ankles. We can also continue to walk our shoulder blades under, bringing the arms under the body and interweaving all 10 fingers. That will help, but press equally down through both feet, 4 corners of the feet grounded. We should feel our hamstrings tighten, our glutes tighten. One more breath. Take a big breath in, unwind the hands. On the exhale, carefully lower everything back down to the ground. Take the prop out of the thighs. Start to rock your knees side to side. Draw the belly in to hug the knees in. Rock the back out here. Reach around those thighs. Stretch the feet up to the ceiling. Press your thighs into your hands. Point and flex the feet a couple times. Viparita Karani, otherwise known as legs up the wall pose or waterfall pose. You can give those hamstrings a little massage. Now let's flex our feet, hold the outer thighs and open our legs up nice and wide into Supta Konasana. Roll the ankles. Keep trying to open the eyes of the knees. Hands move to the inside for a deeper stretch, massaging those inner thigh muscles. Take a big breath in. Exhale, let's squeeze those legs back up into our inversion. Exhale, bend the knees. Keep the feet parallel to each other. Extend the arms up from the shoulders. We'll lower our knees over to the right side for spinal twist. Add a prop underneath that thigh if needed. If the knees come all the way down to the ground, place your right hand on top of that left thigh.
Sink your left shoulder down, look to the left, take a couple deep breaths. One more breath in the pose. Bring the head to neutral. Float the knees back up, one knee at a time if that's better. We might need to do a little adjustment. Other side, knees together, feet parallel, arms out. Exhale, lower the knees to the left. Add your props. Take the left hand to the outer thigh for a deeper twist. Right shoulder sinks to the ground. Turn the head to the right. Close the eyes. Slow, deep breaths as we come to the end of our practice. Relax the face, the neck and shoulders. One more breath. On our inhale, we'll roll the head and the knees one more time back up to center. Adjust if needed. Bring those arms around the shin bones, reaching for opposite wrists or elbows. Float the nose to the knees, giving our body a nice big hug, filling ourselves up with gratitude for everything we just accomplished today. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, we're going to release and relax and move into our final relaxation. So again, if we need a little bit more extension for our spine, help improve our posture, counter a lot of rounding, we can go back to where we started and add that little bit of a lift across the upper back, releasing the shoulders and the head to the mat. We can take our pillows underneath us. You might want to add blankets, socks this time of year, an extra layer so that the body is warm, because our body temperature does drop when we slow down into our Shavasana. So make sure you get comfortable. I'll verbally guide us to a little bit of relaxation, give us several moments of peace and quiet so that we can recharge our batteries, and then use the singing bowl to bring us out and finish our practice today. So take a moment. We want to be as comfortable as possible. Eye coverings if you have them. Make sure we loosen everything up. Adjust our surroundings. Putting some effort into this pose, finding symmetry in the body, left to right, front to back. Find the very back center of the skull. Poof up the cheeks a couple times, yawn, swallow, release that mouth, tongue, and jaw. Closing the eyes, let the eyeballs sink down into the sockets. Unfurl the brow, smoothing the skin of the forehead. Relax the center of the brow. With the lips softly touching, release the tongue and lower jaw to gravity. Relax the throat. Soften the heart and the chest. Let the arms hang heavy from the shoulders to the elbows, elbows to the wrists. Relax the hands and the fingertips. Notice the energy at the centers of the palms. Relax down the back, vertebra by vertebra, Allow the low back to sink into the ground. Relax the abdomen completely, all of the abdominal muscles and internal organs. Notice the subtle rise and fall of the belly with the breath. Relax the glutes, the hip sockets. Let the legs hang heavy from the hips to the knees, knees to the ankles. Relax the feet, the toes, the space between the toes. Notice the energy at the soles of the feet. Relax the whole body. Soften and relax the inside of the body. The breath is easy, quiet, and calm. Notice the air around the tip of the nose and the nostrils. If the mind wanders, gently bring it back to the peaceful breath, giving ourselves just one more moment of today to let go, to relax, and to sink into Shavasana. We'll slowly start to come back to the rhythm of our breath. And breathing life back through the body, waking up our toes, the fingertips, a rock of the head. Roll those wrists and ankles. Depending where we are with our props, next inhale can bring us back into our long body stretch. Reaching the arms all the way overhead, stretching through the feet, the toes, the heels, side to side, left to right. Big breath in. On the exhale, the arms will float down, walk the feet in. Depending if we're lifted up or not, we might be able to hug our knees in, otherwise just float the feet enough to give the back a little rock. We'll bring our right arm beside the head, rolling onto our right side, pausing just for a moment. Maybe setting a positive intention or a positive mantra for the rest of our day. And then we'll keep the eyes soft or closed, press down into the ground. We'll bring the body back up, revisiting any comfortable seated position and taking just a couple more breaths together today. Sitting up tall, minding our surroundings. We'll float those arms out beside the body. Turn the palms up, inhale, reach those arms up, and let's gather up everything we need for the rest of this beautiful day. Turn the palms out, big breath out, float the fingertips all the way back down to the ground and let go of all that other junk we don't need today. One more time, inhale those arms up. Bring the palms to touch, exhale the hands to the heart into Anjali Mudra. Humbly bow the head down to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and remembering to be thankful to anyone else that allows us to still come together and practice our yoga together. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. And I thank you all so much for your continued support, for being here to support each other, for doing something good